morning, before the sun fully rises, she is already there, sitting quietly on the wooden bench at the bus stop. Same place, same posture, same distant look in her eyes. If you love emotional stories with meaning, you're in the right place. Subscribe for stories that stay with you. People pass her every day on their way to work, to school, to the market, yet she never moves. She doesn't ask for money. She doesn't beg. She doesn't even look at anyone for too long. She just sits and waits. No one knows for what. Some say she is mad. Some say she lost her memory. Others whisper that she is cursed. But one thing everyone agrees on: the woman never leaves the bus stop. At first, people were concerned. "Madam, are you okay? Where is your family? Where are you going?" No answer. Market women tried to help. They brought food. They offered water. She only touched it after they left. Some people grew impatient. "You can't sit here forever. You are disturbing customers." Even the police came. They asked her name. They asked where she lived. She said nothing. Not a single word. Soon, the whole city began to talk. Headlines popped up in newspapers. "Mysterious woman refuses to leave bus stop." "Old woman sits in same spot for weeks." "Who is the silent woman by the road?" The whole city was talking. But the woman, she stayed silent. Morning, afternoon, night, rain or sun, she stayed.
Did you see how she just sits there, not even caring about anyone? Such a strange old lady, always by herself like that.
One evening, a black car slowed on the road. Inside was a woman in her early 30s, elegant, confident, well-dressed. Her name was Vivian. She had just returned for work when something caught her eye. The woman on the bench. Vivian immediately slowed down. "No way," she whispered. She leaned forward, squinting through the windshield, then waved excitedly. "Mrs. Margaret? Auntie Margaret?" No reaction. The woman didn't look up, didn't blink. Vivian's smile faded. Confused, she parked nearby and stepped out. As Vivian walked toward the bus stop, a market woman nearby noticed her. The woman was seated in front of her stall, fanning herself. Madam," she called out. "Where are you going?" Vivian stopped. She smiled politely.
Good evening, ma. Please, where can I get a gift for the old lady sitting at the bus stop?
Don't waste your time, or she no dey answer anybody.
Vivian was confused and hesitated for a second, but still continued walking.
Sorry to disturb, ma, but is it true the lady on the bench doesn't talk to anyone?
Yes, she hasn't moved from that bench for weeks.
Vivian was still confused, but didn't let it stop her. Then she approached the bench slowly. She bent slightly, trying to catch the woman's eyes. "Good evening, ma," she said warmly. "It's me, Vivian." But the woman stared straight ahead. Not at Vivian, not at the road. Just ahead. After hours of silence, the sky dimmed to orange. Shops closed. The street grew quieter. Vivian exhaled. She stood up. "I'll come back," she whispered. Instead of going home, Vivian walked into the market. She bought food, warm, freshly cooked food. She returned to the bus stop and gently placed it beside the bench. "Please eat," she said kindly. "I'll be back tomorrow." She tapped the woman lightly on the shoulder. Still no response. Vivian walked away, confused, unsettled. That night, Vivian sat in her apartment, her phone pressed to her ear.
"Mommy, I'm serious. Mrs. Margaret has really changed and I'm worried about her."
Vivian explains everything to her mother.
This is really serious. Make sure you try to find out what happened to her.
Vivian sighed. I'm going back tomorrow, she said firmly. I need to know what happened to her. The next morning, Vivian dressed for work, but her mind wasn't at work. At her desk, she typed Mrs. Margaret's name into her laptop. She searched, she scrolled, she read. Nothing useful. By evening, she already knew what she would do. On her way home, she stopped at a supermarket. She bought food. She bought bottled water. She bought clothes. Simple, comfortable clothes. Things that wouldn't require bathing immediately. She packed everything neatly.
Mrs. Margaret would love this cardigan. Hopefully she'll accept it.
That evening, Vivian returned to the bus stop. She placed the items carefully beside Mrs. Margaret. You don't have to talk to me, Ma, but please have these, she said gently. Mrs. Margaret picked up the food. She ate, slowly, still silent. Vivian sat beside her, talking anyway. About the weather, about traffic, about nothing important. Mrs. Margaret didn't respond, but she didn't push the food away either. When Vivian finally stood up to leave, her chest felt heavy. Still, she smiled. I'll come again tomorrow. And she did. Every day. Morning, afternoon, night. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. Vivian came. Sometimes Mrs. Margaret only ate after she left. Sometimes she ate while Vivian sat there talking, but she never spoke. Never. It was the third week. Vivian stopped expecting anything in return. She came anyway. Morning, evening, sometimes late at night. She stopped asking questions, stopped forcing smiles, stopped waiting for answers. She just showed up. Then, one night, Mrs. Margaret said to herself,
That lady has been so kind to me, I need to know who she is. My dear child, who are you and why have you been taking care of me?
Vivian's eyes widened. For months, this woman had spoken to no one. Not the market women, not the police, not the crowd, and now she was speaking to her.
It is me, Vivian.
Vivian? I don't seem to remember you, dear. You look so familiar, but I just can't place you.
You changed my life, Ma. I was the girl you once told that education was the only inheritance that could never be stolen.
Mrs. Margaret stared at Vivian's face, and suddenly the memories came rushing back. 20 years ago. Vivian was a brilliant child, always raising her hand in class, always answering correctly. At home, life was once beautiful. Laughter filled the dining table. A loving family, a happy home. But slowly, things began to change. Arguments replaced laughter. Voices grew louder. And little Vivian watched in fear as her parents fought again and again. Then one night, everything broke apart. Her father left. And soon after, the truth came out. He had been arrested for fraud. The news was everywhere.
In a shocking development,
Vivian
a
and
prominent
her
businessman
mother
has been
watched
arrested
in
for fraud.
silence,
The charges
their
include
world
embezzlement and wire
collapsing in
fraud.
front of them. Not long after, the police and a lawyer arrived. The mansion was seized. Anything tied to her father's name was taken. With nowhere else to go, mother and daughter packed their lives into bags and moved into a small house Vivian's mother had built years before marriage. It wasn't much, but it was all they had. They promised each other to start again. Vivian stayed in the same school, but everything was different. Whispers followed her. Classmates mocked her.
Her dad was arrested for fraud. I heard he stole millions. Look at her face, she knows.
Yet she kept her head down and studied harder. Then another blow came. Her mother lost her job. No one wanted to associate with the wife of a disgraced man.
I'm sorry we have to let you go because of your husband's situation.
Please, sir, I beg you. I need this job.
I'm sorry. Please pack your things and leave.
Sir, please, I beg you.
My decision is final.
Things just weren't going well for them. Vivian ate alone in the cafeteria while classmates laughed and gossiped. And her mother searched desperately for work, but every office turned her away. No one wants to hire the wife of a fraudster, they said coldly. Rejection after rejection.
Good afternoon, miss. I would love to... Wait, aren't you the wife of that fraudster? Please leave this place.
Money ran out. School fees piled up. One day, Vivian was sent out of class.
Sorry, Ma, but she won't be allowed into class till her fees are completed.
With tears in her eyes, her mother sold the last thing of value they owned, their car, just so Vivian could return to school. And still, Vivian never gave up. Then one afternoon, her mother finally found a job, a cleaning job at the home of an elderly couple with no children. That couple was Mr. Jones and Mrs. Margaret.
You can start work whenever you are ready.
Just do a neat job.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ma. I'm very grateful.
Vivian's mom finally had a job. At school, Vivian was always getting prizes for being the top student. Life was finally getting better. Every day after school, Vivian walked home alone. She washed, cooked, and studied while waiting for her mother to return late at night. A few months later, it was Vivian's birthday. There was no party, no cake, just her mother slipping some money into her hand.
Here you go, dear. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much, Mommy.
As they walked together, her mother paused. She didn't want Vivian to be alone at home, so she asked her to come along to the mansion where she worked.
Vivian, when you close from school, come to the mansion so we can clean together. I don't want you to be home alone on your birthday.
That same day at school, her teacher spoke proudly to the owner of her school, whom she really admired.
She is the best student in her class.
I'm very proud of you, my dear.
Vivian smiled, unaware that help was already closer than she imagined. That evening, she arrived at the mansion. She hugged her mother, and together they cleaned, mopping floors, wiping surfaces, doing what they always did at home, until Vivian cleaned and lifted a beautiful vase. It slipped, it shattered, and fear froze her. But when the couple rushed in, they weren't angry, they were worried.
Oh my goodness, are you okay, dear? So sorry, Ma, it was an accident.
Mrs. Margaret?
Vivian?
Turns out, the woman who Vivian's mom has been working for is her loving proprietress.
Wow, my dear, what are you doing here and still in uniform?
I came to help my mom out.
Mrs. Margaret and her husband were curious about their story. So they explained the father's arrest, the lost home, the job losses, the shame that followed them everywhere. The old couple felt pity. They didn't want Vivian to go empty-handed. After all, it was her birthday.
Please bake a birthday cake for Vivian. It's her birthday.
All right, ma'am.
Thank you, Ma.
That night, candles were lit. There was joy in the air. Mrs. Margaret began to quietly watch over Vivian. In the library, she noticed how Vivian stayed behind, reading while others played. In the classroom, she saw how quickly Vivian understood, how her hand always rose with the right answer. In the cafeteria, whispers followed Vivian from table to table until Mrs. Margaret walked in and sat right beside her. The room went silent. When students mocked her past, called her names she never chose, Mrs. Margaret stopped it immediately.
Hey, Vivian, your fraudster dad's still in jail, right?
Would you stop that nonsense this minute? Now go to my office for your
Their
punishment.
bond became so strong that she could even say Mrs. Margaret was her grandma.
Education is the only inheritance that can never be stolen, so keep studying hard.
Enjoying the story so far? Why don't you hit the subscribe button so you never miss any of our stories, and give this video a thumbs up to support the channel. Even when school fees became a wall again, and Vivian was sent out of class,
Just give me a few days. She cannot attend her classes till the bill is completed, ma. No negotiation.
Mrs. Margaret stepped forward.
Vivian, dear, you can go to class. I'll handle this.
Thank you so much, ma.
That night, at home, Mrs. Margaret spoke to her husband.
I'm telling you, that girl is really brilliant. She deserves this.
Okay, dear. I'll make a few calls.
And so will I.
Calls were made. Forms were filled. An international scholarship exam that could change the lives of Vivian and her mom was paid for.
Vivian, dear, we think you deserve to write this scholarship exam.
So we paid for it.
Bless you so much.
From that day on, Vivian studied like her future depended on it, because it did. Morning, night, no distractions, no excuses. The exam day came. She wrote with shaking hands, but a steady heart. Then she waited until one afternoon, the phone rang. She had been accepted. Tears fell. Her mother held her tight. Bags were packed with hope and gratitude.
Thank you so much. I promise to make you all so proud.
We know you will, my dear.
Just do your best.
At the airport, goodbyes were said. Promises were whispered. And as Vivian waved one last time, she didn't know that a quiet act of hard work, noticed by the right person, had rewritten her entire life. After the airport goodbye, life didn't drift them apart. Vivian and her mother kept in touch. Photos were sent, messages were exchanged, little updates, big smiles. Another photo, 5 years later, graduation day, cap on her head, pride in her eyes. Then more pictures. Vivian at work, Vivian growing, Vivian becoming everything she dreamed of. Video calls followed. Laughter filled the screen. Mrs. Margaret and Mr. Jones watched her grow as if she were their own.
Oh my goodness, I remember it all. Vivian, you're so big now.
Vivian explained that she grew worried after losing contact with Mrs. Margaret. So when a business event brought her back to the country, she took it as the perfect chance to come and check on her. They laugh. They reminisce. Old memories warmed the room. Until Vivian finally asked the question that had been sitting quietly between them. Ma, why have you been here all this time? Mrs. Margaret's smile fades, and the memories return. Every month, Mr. Jones traveled for business, and every month, Mrs. Margaret waited for him at the bus stop. It was their routine. She would sit on the bench, he would arrive, they would hug, laugh, talk. Then the driver would take them home. Until one day, she waited and waited. Evening came, but he didn't. Calls went unanswered. The driver arrived, but her husband hadn't. Then the news broke.
Good evening, ma'am.
Oh, Desmond, I don't know why his boss isn't here yet.
Ma'am, you might want to see this.
A bus accident. No survivors. Her world shattered.
No, Desmond, it's not possible. Please, where is my husband?
I am so sorry. Please try to breathe.
She cried. She screamed. She refused to believe it. Every bus that stopped, she checked inside, hoping, praying, but he never came out. She stayed on that bench. At home, the house grew silent. Staff left. The gates remained closed. And still, Mrs. Margaret stayed there, waiting, because leaving the bus stop meant accepting the truth. Tears streamed down her face as she looks at Vivian. I couldn't move on, she whispers. It was too much. The bench wasn't just a place. It was the last place she ever felt close to him.
I thought that I'd have to eventually face the fact he's never coming back. If I left this bus stop.
Vivian held her hands and didn't rush her.
You loved him, and he loved you.
She looked around at the bus stop, then back at Mrs. Margaret.
But Grandma, if he were here, he wouldn't want you waiting anymore. He would want you to stand up, to go home, to live.
Mrs. Margaret trembled. Silence. Then, slowly, Mrs. Margaret stood. Gasps followed. Tears fell. For the first time in years, she took a step forward. Vivian hugged her tightly. You did it, she whispered. From that day, everything changed. Vivian took her for a medical checkup. Doctors smiled. Hope returned. They went to the salon, her hair done. They shopped, they laughed, they talked like mother and daughter. A video call came through. Vivian's mom. Worry turned into relief, relief into joy. She's okay now, Vivian said, and for the first time, it was true.
I'm really glad to see you're in good shape, Ma.
See you.
Likewise, my dear, you look really good and your daughter here is a rare gem.
They returned to the mansion. Workers cleaned, painted, brought life back into the walls. Then nights at Vivian's apartment, tea on the table, soft laughter filling the room. Healing didn't come all at once, but it came. When it was time for Vivian to leave, she held Mrs. Margaret's hands. Come with us, she begged. Mrs. Margaret smiled gently. My home is here, she said, but my heart is always with you.
Grandma, I really want you to come stay with us.
Stop crying, dear. My home is here and you are free to visit anytime.
Tears, a long embrace, a promise to visit. And later, Mrs. Margaret sat in her home once again. Chefs moved quietly. The house was alive. Beside her sat a framed photo of her husband. She looked at it and smiled, not in pain, but in peace. If this story meant something to you, then you're already part of this family. Subscribe for more.